here we are. We just missed that first question, kind of.
That's okay.
Telling us about your background and the inspiration, and now you're telling us about that shift into where you are now. And you said you just started at the beginning of the pandemic.
Yes.
Which is incredible. It's really a prolific amount of work that you created in such a short amount of time.
I just kind of finished redoing parts of my house, and I had these big walls, and I thought, okay, I want a painting on these walls. And I was like, I could buy something, or, I mean, I'm always doing crazy things. Like I made lights. I made my own light fixtures. I've refinished furniture. I've made furniture. Why don't you try making paintings? So dumb me, I thought, well, you need an easel. So I bought an easel off Facebook Marketplace. We don't need an easel. So it's now in the garage. But I went and bought paint. And of course, I went and bought golden paint, which you don't need golden paint. You can buy cheaper paint, which I love golden paint, but you don't need golden paint. And I bought paintbrushes, which now is hilarious because I don't even really use paintbrushes anymore.
So how do you make art not using an easel, not using the right art supplies, and not even using paintbrushes?
Well, it was a progression. Okay, so I started, but I'm very curious, and I'm very like, well, let's see if we like this. No. Let's see if we like this. No. And so I was getting the canvases from Michael's that are gessoed. And I was like, well, I like this. But if they're gessoed, they have, and you can paint over them. You have to work quickly. And I thought, I saw online, because I would just go online and learn stuff. You know, there's Google and there's everybody's giving information. So I thought, well, I'll go and buy a roll of canvas and make my own canvases. That'll be cheaper. And so I bought a roll of canvas from Blick's Art Supply. I've got a stretcher bars. I mean, I've got a chop saw out there in my thing. I was like, I'll buy wood. I'll make my own stretcher bars. So then when I have the raw canvas, and I started painting on that, one day I was like, well, let's not gesso it and let's see how that goes. Well, I loved it. So that's kind of how that started. And then I thin down the acrylic with water, and you get this watercolor effect that I just loved. And it takes longer. You have to be way more patient. I'm not patient. That's not my forte at all. So, and it really is like a watercolor, whereas it layers on. And if it's just acrylic on gesso and you screw up, you can just paint over it because it's kind of opaque. And you can just start over. If it's on raw canvas and you add another layer, you're just going to get kind of, not mud, but it's going to look different. It's not going to have that nice, crisp, almost transparent-y look to it. So you kind of have to not screw it up. You can screw it up, but you have to be happy with it being screwed up. You have to be like, I meant to do that. And sometimes
so just kind of rolling with the accidents.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a happy accident. Sometimes it's like, well, we're going with it.
So it seems like you have a very experimental and like go-getter kind of mindset. You know, do you chalk that up to, like, you said you were into like DIY and you're remodeling your house, so you're a problem solver. Do you feel like that translates into your art practice?
Definitely. Like, I wanted new countertops in here, and I didn't want to pay for granite, so I've got white concrete countertops that I did myself. And I just figured it out. And they now probably have paint on them from me flinging paint. But like, okay, the thing in the narrative that talks about a yoga mat, this is it. It's the kitchen scrubby. that everybody has. And this is the yoga mat that I super glued. I cut off a yoga mat and then super glued it onto the regular kitchen scrubby because it's flat and it just moves the paint. And this is already my second one because the first one I broke. But that way I don't get brush marks.
Mm-hmm. And you just figured that out yourself.
Yeah, I'd seen somebody use a Swiffer.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I'll do that. And then I thought, but I want something smaller because I wasn't working really large at that point. And I was like, well, what's smaller than a Swiffer? Well, kitchen scrubby. But it had that texture and I wanted something to glide. And I was like, what do I have that'll glide? So I went to the garage and I was like, the yoga mat glides. So it has the gridded section. So I just glued it.
That's amazing. See, like I never would have thought to do that. A lot of times artists can get caught up and they're like, oh, I don't have access to like this kind of brush or these kind of materials or whatever, and think, so I can't be an artist or I can't make art. And it's never really about that, you know, and you're kind of evidence of that, yeah. You know. So we have a question in the chat from Cosby Hayes. And I want to say first, if anyone has questions at any point, feel free to drop them in the Q&A or feel free to unmute yourself and just chime in. This can be very conversational as we move forward. But Cosby says, what type of spray paint do you use? So I think he means like brand.
Yeah, the stuff that I already had. I have in my garage an entire paint closet. Like I look like Home Depot and Lowe's. So it's whatever was at Home Depot and Lowe's already that I already have. I have a couple, so it's Rust-Oleum, Krylon. I have bought a couple of cans of that fancy stuff from Michael's, and it's nice.
The Iron Lac?
Yeah, whatever.
So it's like a low pressure spray paint is the one from Hobby Lobby.
Right, but I've only bought like one can of that.
Yeah. So do you prefer to like work with what you got and like be resourceful kind of?
Right. I was like, I've got a boatload of this. We're working with it.
Yeah. So it sounds like almost it's like your work is informed or like predicated on like what you have, you know what I mean? And you're creative and you're like inspired by like, oh, this is what I have. Let's make something out of it. It's almost like Iron Chef. You know.
But I will say the stuff that I love, hold on real quick, these little pastels, I will go and spend some money on these Richardson hand rolled pastels. What are these? Jack Richardson soft pastels. These things are the bomb. They are like creamy, buttery. They go on, they slide.
Yeah.
They're so good. And the colors are just, they're so pigmented.
So that's the Jack Richardson oil pastels?
I don't even, are they oil? I guess. It just says soft pastels.
Soft pastels, okay. That's neat. So that's like a must-have in your art practice.
Yeah.
Do you have any other like must-haves when it comes to tools or materials?
Yeah. This crazy little thing is from what is that tools place that I use to store my soft pastels because it's butt cheap.
So it's just a good organizer?
Yeah.
Okay. So having those pastels and then an organizer for the pastels. Yeah.
Because everybody was like putting them in little teeny jars.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I ended up kicking them around and then I'll step on them. So this way I can stack them by color.
Oh, that's smart.
And it just, so I've got my yellows in one, my pinks in another, my greens in another.
Oh, Hillary asked, is it Harbor Freight where you got the organizer? Oh.
Yes.
Good eye, Hillary.
And you just pull out the little slots.
Mm-hmm.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, that is wonderful. So looking at the title of your show, looking at the bright side, I think it's a wonderful title for the show because I look at your art and it makes me feel happy. It's bright colors, it's playful, it's light, and it is that like a message you're trying to send out, or is that just coincidental? Or
I mean, I was just, you're stuck inside with COVID, and I was just trying to kind of like, it's a lot of color. I like color. My house has got color, my paintings have color, and it's just trying to like, let's kind of make lemonade here.
okay, I love that. I love that. It's like I imagine that's like cathartic for you too, to a certain degree.
I mean, I did, and I'm a list person. I think I'm very weird. I'm very right brain and left brain. I'm going to be organized. So like when y'all called and said, hey, do you want to be in this? We would like to do the show. And I was like, oh my, I'm very honored, but oh my God, I've got to get how many paintings?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, I have to have a list, and I have to have a painting like this and a painting like, these colors. Cause I don't want it to be like, there's 40 red paintings on a wall. I didn't want to do that. So I made a list of, I want a painting like this. So that's why there's some with beige, there's some with this, there's some with this, there's some faces, because I just kind of wanted a variety.
Okay.
For me personally.
So how long did it take you to make all of the pieces for the show?
I backed into it. I thought, if I need to get to here, it's going to take me a painting a week. Now, in that, I did do that one for 621, that big one.
Right. And that was huge. How big was that one?
Yeah. And I fit that in the schedule. But again, so it was about a painting a week.
For how many weeks?
I got done early. I had a couple, but I got done early, and then I had to varnish. Then I had to hang everything, put hangers and varnish everything. And that took forever.
So from the time you first started working on this show, paintings, to the time you finished, about how long it was it?
I don't even know. I'd have to go back to my notes.
Well, I asked because it's a lot of paintings that you have in this show. It's a lot of work, and they're large paintings, and they're all very thoughtful and very unique. So once again, I just go back to like, that is prolific. Like that is a lot of work to make in such a short amount of time. And that I know can be a barrier more or less for artists applying for shows. You have to crank out so much work to get the show, and then where do you keep it in the meantime? How do you schedule for that and pace yourself to meet those deadlines and make a show happen? A solo show is a lot of work. So I admire the fact that you could just get all those done.
It was kind of funny because I was like, it'll just happen. It's just going to have to happen. Yeah. When I backed out and I was like, okay, you have to do a painting a week, at least. And so then it got done. And then I thought, okay, no, I'm going to have to get them there somehow because I've got a sedan and there's 30 paintings that are locked and they all have to be delivered at the same time. So you're going to have to rent a van. Okay, you can do that. And then what are you going to do? Just chunk them in the back? Well, you can't do that. Mm-hmm. So then I had to build a stackable thing. So I went to Home Depot and I was like, I planned it ahead, and I measured, like, here's your sheet of plywood. It's this by this, and I want it to be cut this by this by this. And the very nice young man, I said, here are the cuts I need it to be. And so he cut like 2 or 3 pieces of plywood down, and then I took them home and put it together. So it was this slottable thing that comes apart, mm-hmm. so that it would hold the art in a van.
I almost think of like a drying rack, but like a plywood. So
right.
It kind of sits them upright and they're not touching each other. Okay. Yeah. See, that is neat. It's so much more, I'm realizing after asking you how long did it take you to make these paintings, you're like, well, I made the paintings, but I also had to plan a van and build a structure to move the paintings and put wires on the paintings and all of those logistics surrounding that to make a show happen. It's really interesting to hear that, you know.
I didn't even think about signing them. I saw there's another artist in town and he does wire structures and they're gorgeous. And he wanted to buy this queen painting that I liked. And I was like, well, I love your art. So we swapped. Cool. And I hadn't even varnished it or signed it or anything. And it was in the Gadsden County show. And so he just, you know, I took his home and he took mine home, whatever. And I love he built me this, or made me this crow. But it wasn't even my thing that I gave him wasn't even varnished, and I hadn't signed it because I hadn't even thought of that. I was just still working on these shows. And so then I was like, okay, so I have to figure out how I want to sign my work. And my signature is illegible. And I didn't want to sign it on the front because, you know, what if somebody, because it's abstract, it's not all of them are faces. So you might really, somebody might want to turn it around. Mm-hmm. So I signed it on the edge. And then I signed it with charcoal. And then I just spray fixed it.
Okay. That's clever. Very clever.
Yeah.
So going back to your titles again, looking at the bright sides, kind of the overall theme for the show, but then the artworks themselves have very thoughtful and specific titles where I look at them and I'm like, there must be a story behind this. I don't know if anyone else here has noticed that, but the titles are not generic titles by any means. So we realized, talking just before everyone else hopped on, there's at least 2 paintings in your show with the name Gary in it. One is Gary Gets New Teeth, and then another Gary, right?
I think there's just one Gary Gets New Teeth.
Okay, just one Gary then.
Yeah.
But tell us about Gary Gets New Teeth and maybe some of the other titles as well.
Okay, well, like Gary Gets New Teeth. Okay, so I painted that one and it was just the background. It was the blue with the brown on it. And then I was looking at it, I was like, well, I'm not loving this. So what am I going to do with it? And so I like took a photo of it and popped it on my iPad and like drew. I was like, it needs a face. That's kind of where a face would go, is the shape of the brown. And so I like drew it out with my, like, iPad has that electronic pencil. So I drew a face over it. And I was like, it needs to be just kind of a goofy looking dude. And the face kind of fit on that brown part. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go with this. So it fit there. So then I painted it on. And I really liked the teeth. And I was like, I really want these to be teeth that are like, it looks to me like he's kind of got a toupee. Mm-hmm. And the teeth, I think, like, I don't know, he's kind of had a rough life. He has that barrel chest. Like, this is a big guy that works, like, I don't know, construction. This is a big, solid guy. Maybe he's been popped in the mouth before. And these are new teeth because he had to get it replaced because he's been popped in the mouth.
Right, obviously.
I'm just thinking industrial accident.
Yeah. You know. I love that. That is so thoughtful and creative that you're just like creating a whole storyline, building a whole character behind this. And it's still, even though we're talking about someone's teeth getting knocked out, it's still playful, right? Yeah. And it's an imaginative kind of piece.
But he's very proud of these new teeth.
Yeah. That's neat. Are there any other pieces specifically that you wanted to talk about how you came to the title?
If anybody has any others, let's see.
Oh, Cosby has a question. He says, are your paintings usually narrative?
No, I mean, normally I'll paint a painting and then look at it and then I'll come up with a title.
Okay. So it's more reactive to the painting.
Yes.
That's neat. It's like you're not just a painter, you're a storyteller in a way, right? Even if it's just a story for you,
Right.
there's still a story being told and a thought process taking place.
Yeah.
So is that something you hope to evoke from the viewer? Is like, what do you want to evoke from the viewer? What do you want people to look at your paintings and think or feel or do?
You know, I have a tough time with this because I think everybody is going to have their own filter that they filtered life through. You have your own, like, and I always say it's the thing that your favorite meal that you filtered life through. That's what nobody makes macaroni and cheese like your mom makes macaroni and cheese. That's your best macaroni and cheese is your mom's macaroni and cheese. So that's everything.
Yeah. It's more about like a personal reaction and that personal interpretation and really paying homage to the individual viewer rather than you telling them what to think or feel. It's like you
really don't want. I mean, I'm painting something. This is my expression, and I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you view it however you view it, and I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, you want people to connect
just
with
kind
it
of
in a way.
Exploring and moving forward and trying to work stuff out, and I'm curious, and I'm always looking for a challenge. Like my favorite painting is always the one I'm working on right now that I just finished.
So what is your favorite painting now then, that being said?
The one behind me.
Yeah, that's cool. So do you want to tell us about this one a little bit behind you?
It is, I had a frame for like one of my big first ones, and it was in my master bedroom, and I was getting sick of it, and it was god awful. It was like the first roll of canvas I got that was really thin. I thought it was supposed to be medium, and it was just really thin. And so I just yanked it off. I thought I'm just going to put something new on, and I'll put it in my bedroom. And I really like these colors. The white ended up being house paint because I just kind of wanted it to be a little grittier. But I kind of like the colors. Oh, and I did a press process on it where I take a piece of spare canvas and I just pour like the dark blue. I poured navy on it and let it saturate, and then just did pressure on it so it would seep down and onto the painting below.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
Very neat. So you mentioned house paint. You also mentioned the pastels, watering down your acrylic. Are there any other materials that you use?
I have used spray paint, inks, charcoal. Let's see, what do I have in here? That's about it. It's just different brushes. I mean, there's this.
Tell us about your tools. I know you have some really creative ones in addition to the yoga mat scrubber.
Okay, so this is, can you get this?
Wow. So tell us about that guy.
This is from Home Depot. That's the one that it doesn't soak up anything. So you really have to do a large puddle and then shove it in. And if you do too much, you're just going to smear it. So you really have to kind of get a good puddle going to get the brush strokes, but it makes nice brush strokes.
Okay. So like a puddle of watered down acrylic or?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
But because it's so wide, for a larger painting, you can get nice marks.
Yeah.
And even for a smaller painting.
Okay.
And then I've got this one, which is a wallpaper brush. And then I think if you can see, I've just taken, I've gapped it up. So I've just kind of ripped it apart and then taken the scissors so that
Oh, so you're like cutting chunks out of that brush. Oh, that is so cool.
you can get this kind of mark that's
So
on
some
this.
negative space coming through.
Yep.
So yeah, this one came to mind as you're showing those big brushes. What tool did you use to make this big white mark here?
That one, the wallpaper brush that was gapped up.
Okay, cool. Do you have any other tools you want to share? This is like very interesting.
I mean, I use scrapers and stuff like that.
Okay.
Oh, I have some straight edges and stuff like that. And I have squeegees. I'm not as crazy about, I do like the straight edge. I use the straight edge, I think, for, what did I use? Hold on, I'm looking at my names. Oh, there it is, the crossing guard.
Oh,
the straight edge was used for the crossing guard, but that's it.
Okay. Let me find that one.
The black and white. I mean, the one with the red.
Oh no, why can't I find it?
But it's mostly the kitchen scrubby because there we go.
Yeah.
You can see the
Mostly
purple in the
scrubby.
middle.
Mm-hmm.
I just use a straight edge.
I see. What about like right here? Like I can see it looks like you have this kind of green and red and yellow like layered up, and then maybe
I just use painter's tape.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. I was trying to figure it out. It's really neat. Like as I look through all your pieces, I think, how did she do that? You know what I mean? Like it's not obvious to me when I first look at it.
And I'll lay the canvas on the ground, and because I lay it on the ground and it's got it's not just on the hardwood floors. I've got canvas, because this is my home. I've got canvas laying on it that's plastic backed so that the paint doesn't seep through. So you've got this kind of organic, whatever, uneven floor. And then, so you'll get puddles of paint.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if it was stretched, taut, it would not, you wouldn't get this, whatever. It would be a nice even pour when you did a water-based thing. It would be a lot cleaner. And then I'll grab it when it's starting to dry a little and just pick up the canvas and just shape sometimes. And so I haven't hit the ceiling yet, but I'm waiting. I do have a flick of paint on the monitor, I noticed this morning.
That's how you know you're a real artist. You have
Yeah,
it's electronics
everywhere.
So yeah, there is like a strong sense of like movement in all of your works that I noticed too. Yeah, I can almost envision like how you would have like, pulled the brush across and apparently, tossed the canvas or let gravity pull it down. So it's really neat. They're very expressive in that sense. Oh, we have another question too. Can you see the questions on here?
Oh, no, I wasn't even looking. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I'll go ahead and read it off to you. It says, thank you for sharing about your art today, Sarah Miller. Please share, if possible, about the perhaps intuitive process or experience that guides which patterns, shapes, movements to proceed with. Great question.
It kind of varies. It usually starts with color. And I'll decide like, okay, I want to do something with this color or that color. And then it's like, well, I think it's a little too boring and we need to kind of add something over here or do something over here, or I haven't done this, or I'm just bored myself.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I think I do a better job than others. And I love my painting wall back here because it's 2 pieces of plywood and then it's got the canvas on the back, and it's real fancy. I've got baling line and binder clips. And so I can just do bind your clips to the raw canvas and hang it up, and then just stand back and look at something. Because since I work on the floor mostly, you don't really know what something looks like. So sometimes it's nice to hang it up, stand back and look at it and go, well, no. Turn it and go, well, I like that perspective better. Because looking down at something, it just kind of throws you sometimes.
So do you try and paint with it hanging or reflect on it while it's hanging so you can view it in the same way that it will be viewed?
Maybe all to monochrome, but some, like the limoncello, I kind of like. It's all yellow. And for whatever reason, I kind of wanted it to be monochrome. But if it needs more movement, if it needs more lines, if it needs more texture, visually. And before, like what was it? The burn one. I thought it was done. And then I added the stuff, the top left, and I added that with a feather. But it sat there on my wall for a couple of days, clipped up. And I just sat there and watched TV, and I'd look at it corner of my eye and go, it's almost there. No, do I get it right every time? No. There's some that I've looked at and went, it still needs something, I think. I'm not sure what, but it still needs something. But I think maybe everybody kind of does that. But I like this one. I like all the variety and the movement.
Yeah, I do too. I wanted to ask you too about your portraits. So I think there are 3 portraits that I saw in the show, or maybe 3 to 5 around there, right? So yeah. Can you tell us about your portraits?
This one was maybe the last one, and it's collage as well. So I just kind of painted the background, painted the face. I had a leftover painting for one. The hair is a whole different painting than the dress. And I just kind of, she reminds me, honest to God, of Kate Pearson from the B-52s.
Oh, yeah.
To me, it's like Kate Pearson. And I just think, this is a girl, she's going out clubbing. She's got the blue eyeshadow. I mean, the blue eyebrows. She's got kind of the dress, like it's vintage, you know? And I just think she's wearing something vintage and she's going out. So
absolutely, I totally see that. Okay. So Hillary has a question. She says, I see some Mose Tolliver in some of the portraits, especially Gary. Are there other Southern vernacular artists you're inspired by?
I love some of those folk art. I love him. It's probably just all the folk artists that I've looked at over the years. Definitely. Like, that's what I was saying, that I think that's one of those things that imprints in you, that you see. I mean, I absolutely love that style.
What is it about the folk art specifically that you feel drawn to? Is it?
There's a charm. I don't know, I was trying to think of that earlier today. It's just a connective person. It seems like somebody you know.
Yeah.
These are characters. Like, it's kind of odd. It's an odd person. They do seem to be maybe kind of odd. And I think that's okay, because when you think of that Southern, maybe vernacular, these are odd people.
So.
Historically. Yeah, I mean, you know. And so I think it works. I love outsider art. Yeah.
What do you define as outsider art?
I don't have any outsider art, folk art. I think outsider art tends to be, and I'm not great at this.
So you mentioned, I think before, about what you learned in your classes.
Training maybe than outsider art.
Okay. Yes. So thinking about the art history class you're in.
Yeah.
Did you have a lot of exposure to folk artists and outsider artists in that class?
No, I even looked at my book last week, because that was the only textbook from college I kept, was my art history, Art Through the Ages. And it maybe stopped. I don't even think we got to anything close to being current at all.
How recent did it come up to? Hillary says she has that book too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, I don't even think we got to current living artists.
Okay. Wow.
I mean, I just don't think we had enough time.
Right. And art has been being made since the beginning of time. So it is a lot to cover, Okay, so Chris Brown has a comment. He's saying, perhaps with folk art, the self-taught and or unique intuitive process is appealing in some way. Do you relate with that?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, because you just kind of, well, I meant to do this. Well, okay.
Yeah. And what I find with a lot of the old masters or traditional art making forms, there's a lot of rules, right? And about what materials you should use, how you should use them, what's right, what's wrong, what's proper, what's good, what's bad. And it's kind of antithetical to what art is all about and art making, right? Yeah. There are no rules. So it's like, what? So,
but I took a class at Lemoyne on the make a face out of a square piece of clay, because I thought I'm terrible at faces. And I think this is before I did the faces. And I thought, I'm so curious. So I took it. I had more fun than a barrel of monkeys.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So how did it turn out?
Huh?
How did it turn out?
Oh, it's really good, except for it looks like Vladimir Lenin or Lenin. It seriously looks like Lenin.
That's funny. Do you have it with you?
I've got it in another room.
Okay. If you want to show us, that might be fun.
I'll grab it real quick. It's hilarious. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, and for real, you guys, if at any point you want to chime in, feel free to drop the questions in the chat or the Q&A, or just unmute yourself, chime in. Yeah, it's gonna be very conversational.
Okay.
Oh, how fun.
Tell me.
Oh my gosh. Cosby immediately says, nice. Is it for sale? That is awesome. Show us again. Sorry, I'm going to make your picture bigger for me so I can really see it. That is so cool. Yeah, if it's for sale, Cosby is wondering. So you can think about it, or,
No, I've got to have proof. I made a face once.
Need evidence. Well, maybe you need to make another.
I know. I tried to take the course again. I'm dying for them to do another course of this.
Yeah. So do you sculpt a lot as well, or are you mostly 2D?
No, that was the first time I've ever done that.
Wow. How did you like that?
It was great because she's like, okay, you do this and you do it in like thirds. She's like, here's how you do the face.
Mm-hmm.
The line is here. And the teacher was wonderful. And so it was really helpful to figure out how to do the face mathematically. And she's like, you gouge the eyes out. And here's how you do an ear. Here's how you do the lips. And the lips are not any way at all like you think lips would be.
Oh, yeah?
You think they're going to be like Mr. Potato, Man? you do lips and you glue them on, not at all. So it was really the best class ever.
Wow. Sounds like, and who taught the class?
And you would ask, and I cannot remember.
That's all right.
But I have it on my Instagram. I tagged her. So it's on my Instagram.
Okay, awesome. Okay, we're getting lots of questions coming in. Max Solomon says, do you have any paintings of lawyers?
No, I don't. What would,
not yet.
What would make him a lawyer, though?
Well, you tell a lot of stories surrounding your paintings.
Yes.
So you can, tell the story of the lawyer.
That's true.
Okay, so Chris Brown says, thank you for sharing the unique features and expressions of your characters.
I'm glad to share. Thank y'all for joining and asking questions.
And Laura is asking if you teach any classes.
I haven't, but we kind of talked about maybe doing something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd be interested. My process is a little slower, like on raw canvas, because it's put a layer down, stop and let it dry.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it takes a week. So, but we talked about a way to do this to where I would like bring it in and kind of show, and bring in variety to kind of show you like, here's what it looks like at this process. And here's what it looks like in level 2. And here's what it looks like in level 3 and that kind of thing. So that you could kind of see maybe not one painting, but the different layers.
Right. Yeah, that was something we were actually just kind of brainstorming while we were waiting for everyone to join, is the potential of a class or an open studio kind of, led by Sara Lee Miller. So if that is anything that y'all would be interested in, definitely let us know. And we were thinking a really fun part of it would be, if Sara could bring her tools.
Yeah.
And y'all could play with those. How fun would that be? So hopefully, yes, there will be one before the show comes down too. Okay, Hillary says, maybe Gary is a lawyer. I second that. I think Gary is a lawyer. Rewrite that story.
Yeah. I just think with the barrel chest, I don't know. Although maybe it's that big guy in, where is it, North Carolina, that killed his family. That's not such a great lawyer.
Oh gosh, I didn't hear about that one. Sounds like something that needs to be painted, maybe.
It was South Carolina, but it's
South
very
Carolina.
I watched all the Datelines.
Oh my gosh. No, if that's not a, Southern Gothic tale, I don't know what is.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So Sara, do you ever work with other artists or collaborate?
I haven't yet. I think I've just been trying to kind of find my groove and everything like that. And actually, first I was just trying to get through 30 paintings.
Right.
That's what I was trying to do.
Just 30.
And now, then I kind of took a break and was like, okay, let me get a breathing room. And so I'm just kind of like getting back into it, and going, okay, well, this really is fun. I know I need to paint smaller. I love painting big stuff, but I can't imagine how I'm going to ship that. If somebody buys it somewhere else, like, how are you going to ship something that's massive?
Well, you could, if it's rolled canvas. I've seen it done before, although tedious. You can unstretch the canvas and roll it and send it, and then you go to, I believe, a framer, and they can restretch it for you.
I guess my only problem is mine are not like 48 by 60, which is a normal stretcher size. I just yank off a piece of canvas and start painting it. And then because I make my own stretcher bars, so it's like 48.75.
You could always just send in the exact measurements. This is the depth, the width. You could even deconstruct the stretcher and send it.
Maybe I could.
That I've seen it done before. Also, when you get into freight shipping, it is expensive, but once you break into freight shipping, it's more or less like a flat rate, I think. Maybe it goes by weight, but like regarding the painting sizes, it's not going to vary so much that it'll go up crazy. But yeah, it gets expensive at freight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so maybe like a local collaboration. I was just curious. I can see your work complementing really nicely with some of the artists who are actually with us right now. Like I know Ned is like a portrait artist, Cosby is a portrait artist as well. And I can see with all the textures and layering you're doing and how you kind of do a moment and then wait and then go there and wait, how it could be like passed to another artist and then back and forth. I just think that would be really interesting.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah. Okay, so we're approaching an hour. I know I've kind of been asking questions myself, but Sarah, is there anything else you wanted to talk about or discuss?
No, if anybody has any questions, any other process questions or anything about specific paintings or whatever, just let me know.
Yeah, if anyone
wants the paintings are for sale. I've sold one.
Yes. So all of these paintings, again, I will drop the link in the chat to the online exhibition, but all of these paintings that are online are for sale and they're being exhibited at, sorry, I'm trying to multitask right now. They're being exhibited at the airport until September 22nd. If you want to buy any of them, just reach out to Sara Lee Miller directly and she can work with you on that. Also, if anyone is interested, oh, this is to everyone, sorry. Okay, there's the link to the online exhibition. Definitely encourage you to go see it in person. It really doesn't do it justice just seeing it through a screen. But if you are interested in doing maybe an open studio or a class, definitely reach out to Sara or I and let us know. And we really do want to facilitate something like that. We've been brainstorming, thinking, what do people want to do? What would be fun? Get people engaged, you know, and just kind of make the most of the show because her work is amazing and I want everyone to know about it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if there aren't any other questions, we can go ahead and close out. I want to say thank you guys so much. I'll be following up with a thank you email and Sara will have your email addresses as well so y'all can stay in the loop. Sara, you have an email and I know you're also on Instagram and Facebook. Is that right?
Yes, I feel like I'm everywhere. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest. So you can find me out there.
Okay. And the best way to find it is just look up Sara Lee Miller art.
Yep. And it's Lea Miller. Lea
and no H on the Sara.
Right.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming out. You know how to reach us. Stay tuned for information about the class and upcoming exhibit information. Y'all have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Sara, can you see the chat?
Oh, let me go.
Lots of good comments.
Oh, good.
People were really curious. Everyone was saying thank you, thank you.
Oh, good. Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
I think that was really great. I really appreciated hearing more about your work and your tools. And I just think it's so interesting. I really do. Like, I still cannot get over the fact that like, you just started painting. You know what I mean? And I'm like, what? And I'm like, this can't be real. I'm like, you didn't just start painting. But it's interesting because, yeah, you just started making paintings, but a creative process you take, I feel like I see it in your DIY and in, you know, other pursuits of your life. So it's like, you've been practicing, maybe not through art,
right?
But longer, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, you know, hell, I make light fixtures and crazy stuff. So.
Right.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. You know, you made this so easy. You really did.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I enjoyed chatting. Honestly, it's nice. Like I said, I really just like genuinely like talking about this stuff. So, but Chris or Max, did you have any other questions or comments?
He might have just walked out of the room and left his
Okay.
link on.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't pushing anyone out, but I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting. Okay. All right. And feel free to reach out, Sarah, if you need anything. I'll be in touch about the class.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.